In the universe of Judge Dredd, Megacity 1 is a city plagued by rampant crime, including gang warfare, illegal drugs operations, murder, theft, and rioting, to name a few crimes. The high crime rate is countered by the city's extreme law enforcement, the judges, who have the authority to act as judge, jury, and executioner all in one. Meaning, if you get caught committing a crime, you're either heading straight to the isolation cubes there and then, or they could literally shoot you there and then if they wanted. Many of the judges in Megacity 1 are known for being corrupt, usually through the abuse of the power they have for their own gains. The works were a satire making fun of extreme authoritarianism and the idea of a police state where the citizens have very limited amounts, if any, freedom at all. Though the comics, graphic novels, and the movies are adored by fans worldwide, many would consider Megacity 1 to be an incredibly horrific place to live, and certainly not one we'd ever like to see in reality. So what if I told you we were a step closer to that kind of tyranny here in England? Justice Secretary wants jury trials scrapped, except in most serious cases. Justice Secretary David Lammy is proposing to massively restrict the ancient right to a jury trial by only guaranteeing it for defendants facing rape, murder, manslaughter, and other cases passing a public interest test. An internal government briefing produced by the Ministry of Justice for all other Whitehall departments confirms plans to create a new tier of juryless courts in England and Wales. The new courts would deal with most crimes currently considered by juries in Crown Court, but the Ministry of Justice said no final decision had been taken by the government. The plans obtained by BBC News show that Lammy, who is also Deputy Prime Minister, wants to ask Parliament to end jury trials for defendants who would be jailed for up to 5 years. The proposals are an attempt to end unprecedented delays and backlogs in courts and do not apply to Scotland and Northern Ireland. The Ministry of Justice presentation, produced earlier this month, says Crown Courts are facing record backlogs, with more than 78,000 cases waiting to be completed. In practice, this means that suspects being charged with serious crimes today may not have a trial until late 2029 or early 2030. Officials predict in the document that the caseload will grow to more than 100,000 before then unless there is further action. Earlier this year, retired Court of Appeal Judge Sir Brian Levison recommended that the government ends jury trial for many serious offences, saying they can be dealt with by a judge alone or sitting with two magistrates. This would be done by creating a new intermediate tier of criminal court, dubbed the Crown Court Bench Division, sitting in between magistrates' courts and Crown Courts where juries decide cases. The CCBD would hear cases involving defendants facing sentences of up to 3 years, Sir Brian recommended. The Deputy Prime Minister's decision, according to the leaked Ministry of Justice document, is to go further than Sir Brian's to achieve maximum impact. Speaking to BBC4's PM programme on Tuesday, Sir Brian said he was not prepared to comment on the government's hypothetical unpublished plans. However, he said substantial structural change is essential, adding our criminal justice system is at crisis point. The second part of his independent review of the criminal courts will be published soon, he added. The document says Lammy wants to, quote-unquote, introduce trial by judge alone for cases involving fraud and financial offences if the judge considers the case to be suitably technical and lengthy. Exclusions for rape, murder, manslaughter and public interest. The CCBD would be introduced as a lower tier of the Crown Court, which hears cases likely to receive a sentence of up to 5 years by a judge alone, the document said. This means that while jury trial will be guaranteed for murder, manslaughter and rape, almost all other defendants facing serious offences would be tried by a judge alone. The document continues, the reforms will improve timeliness in the Crown Court through extra hearing time and not compromise the right to a fair trial. There is no right to a jury trial. Lammy is said by officials to have begun the right around, Whitehall jargon for obtaining final cross-cabinet and departmental sign-off before going public. Assuming he gets that approval, an announcement would come in December with legislation in the new year. A spokesperson for the Ministry of Justice said, "No final decision has been taken by government. We have been clear this is a crisis in the courts, causing pain and anguish to victims, with 78,000 cases in the backlog and rising, which will require bold action to put right." But real Carmy Jones, KC, chair of the Criminal Bar Association, which represents criminal barristers, said the proposals would not solve the crisis in justice. She said what they propose simply won't work. This is not a magic pill that they promise. The consequences of their actions will be to destroy a criminal justice system that has been the pride of this country for centuries, and to destroy justice as we know it. Juries are not the cause of the backlog. The cause of the systematic underfunding and neglect has been perpetrated by this government and its predecessors for years. So I'll just stop right there. This is pretty much everything we've got so far. This is ultimately wrong on so many levels. Jury trials are something that have been around for over 800 years here in England, even before the Magna Carta. They were established to ensure everyone gets a fair trial, to scrap these and to leave it in the hands of a judge rather than 12 of your fellow citizens means there can potentially be many people that go to prison unfairly or for a longer period of time than they should. 800 years of tradition in common law just scrapped like that because our government chose not to invest in actually clearing the backlogs of cases properly. Tell me, where is the right in that? That's the neat part. There are none. Under this, should it ever be put into practice, say for example someone says the wrong thing on Twitter about, I don't know, illegal immigrants, for example. After you're arrested and then charged, your hopes will lie in the hands of a judge, and you'll have to hope that said judge is in a good mood on the day of your trial, or that your judge isn't too left-leaning. Otherwise, you could be going to prison for a very long time for something that many would consider incredibly trivial. And for that reason, this is something to stand against. This is something that cannot happen. But anyway, people, this has been Lord Flashheart. Be sure to rate, comment, favourite, share and subscribe, and I will see you again. Cheerio!